Maybe Lucia? The Rising Chorus. So are we heading to Keeper of the Lake now? Tataru seems eager to escort you to the Solar. Our guest is with the antecedent in the Solar at present. Let's not keep them waiting any longer, shall we? I was expecting that just to go straight into a cutscene. Yeah, it would make sense for it to be Lucia, because she said that like she would probably be the one we would get in contact with, as Amric is busy. Yep. At this point, it would be more unnerving if you spoke plainly. Unexpected tidings from the north, borne by the Lord Commander II. What manner of wind bloweth this day? Good of you to join us. We have much to discuss. This is no time for idle chatter. All right, then. Is this voiced?
We have a guest from Ishgard who wishes to speak with you. I believe the two of you have met.
We have. I had hoped to speak with Commander Leveilleur as well, but I cannot afford to wait any longer. The Lord Commander sent me hither to request your aid in a matter of grave import.
You see now why I had Tataru summon you.
Now that we're all assembled, perhaps you would be good enough to elaborate on the nature of the matter which brought you to us.
The Observatorium's astrologians have sounded the alarm. Last night, the Dragon Star burned with an intensity not seen in 15 summers. Not since the Dravanians engaged the Empire in the Battle of Silvertear Skies.
The northern sky doth burn full bright upon the Wormlord's call. The red behemoth beckoneth, and flame consumeth all.
The old Curthan rhyme, aye. The brightening of the Dragon Star is said to accompany the roar of a great worm. The astrologians believe that it was Midgard Soma himself who cried out on this occasion.
After an absence of centuries, the King of Kings did return to lead his kind against the might of Garlemald. Only to fall in his duel with the Agrius, proud flagship of the Gallian fleet. Devoid of life, his corpse remaineth entwined about the Magitech monstrosity even unto this day.
Ariange has the right of it. Whatever this alteration in the Dragon Star portends, the Great Worm has shown no sign of life. Tataru, have the Domans reported aught out of the ordinary?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but if Midgard Soma had roared, wouldn't we have heard it here in Revenant's Toll?
Roar is but a figure of speech. Dravanians can communicate in ways beyond our ken. It is for this very reason that we are forced to look for signs in the heavens. We cannot say with any confidence that a great worm roared at all, much less that it was Midgard Soma. Only by directly examining the Keeper of the Lake can we be certain. However, it will take too long to gain the Holy See's approval to dispatch the Temple Knights. Therefore, Sir Emric would entrust this task to you. Do you accept?
Nod.
We knew you would not disappoint us. Now, if you would excuse me, I must return and assist the Lord Commander. We have precious little time to prepare.
To prepare for what, pray tell?
When a great worm roars, his brethren cannot choose but answer. We prepare for battle.
Oop. Forgive me if I state aught which you already know, but I would ensure that you understand the nature of your destination. As Urianger stated, what we now call the Keeper of the Lake is the wreckage of the Agrius, former flagship of the Imperial fleet, and the corpse of the worm responsible for its destruction. 15 years ago, as the next step in his campaign to subjugate Eorzea, Gaius van Belsar attempted to seize control of Mordona. So massive was his force that all thought his victory a foregone conclusion. But an unlikely ally came to Eorzea's aid that day. Midgard-Zormr, legendary guardian of Silvertear Falls, burst forth from beneath the waters of the lake and led a host of dragons against the Garlean airships overhead. In what would later become known as the Battle of Silvertear Skies, the Great Worm felled countless airships before engaging the Agrius. In the ensuing struggle, the flagship's cerulean engines failed and it tumbled into the lake below. Yet this victory came at a great cost, for the explosion which followed claimed the life of the Great Worm as well. That same explosion transformed Silvertear Falls into the desolate wasteland it is today, draining the lake of its waters and crystallizing aether for mounds around. I'm just thinking of, like, what was the... So we know why the Garleans attack, because that's just what they do, but why the dragons got involved? I know there's something special about Silvertear Lake, and I don't know that we know what that is yet. Yet a remnant of the lake remains, and at its center, a constant reminder of that fateful day long ago. In accordance with Sir Emeric's wishes, our Doman allies have been standing watch over the Keeper of the Lake. It would be wise to speak with them before investigating the wreckage yourself. Be careful, my friend. We know not what dangers await you within. Now then, let us not neglect our own tasks. There is much to be done, and precious little time to do it. Midgard-Zormr was once worshipped as the guardian deity of Silvertear Falls, yet there he has lain for 15 years. Before I depart, I must needs speak with the antecedent in private, if you would be so kind. Lucy has got big Brienne of Tarth vibes. I know, well... See, I don't know. Is she just devoted to Emeric in, like, a you did a lot for me, so, like, I'm, repaying that? Or does she actually have feelings for him? I'm just wondering if it's kind of like a Brienne and Jaime kind of thing. But obviously just a tall, battle-experienced woman or whatever that's, very devoted to, a person or whatever. You're in luck, miss. I was able to send word to Revenant's Toll about the Garleans. They didn't mention anything about Garleans, did they? So did he just get this information and just send somebody? Of late, I've seen small airships, likely from Castrum Sentry, come and go from the Keeper of the Lake. Though I cannot say for certain at this distance, I believe they may be salvaging something from within the wreckage. The Castrum supply lines have been cut for some time, and I'd wager they're desperately in need of spare parts and other equipment. So it's true then, the Ishgardians honestly fear that the worm might rise again. Well, from here that seems rather unlikely, but if it's assurances they want, you've no choice but to inspect the corpse in its entirety. Easier said than done, given the creatures which inhabit the wreckage, and the aforementioned Garleans who wouldn't take kindly to your presence. They're sure to fire upon an airship, so I'd advise a more stealthy approach. Take this boat and a few of your comrades to the base of the Agrius, then climb to the top. That's the only viable approach, I'd say. Nice. So I may have run this one solo, like once at some point. I'm not super familiar with it. I mean, given it's a level 50 dungeon, I don't think I'll have any problems, but I'm cognizant that at some point I'm gonna hit, whether it be a dungeon or a trial or something, that either I'm not gonna be able to solo, or it's gonna take, more time than like just going in a group, just queuing up for it. So it's like trying to gauge when I should actually just queue up for it, for the sake of time. But right now I think we're all right. Because I'm pretty sure I've soloed like some Heavensward trials, if not all of them. This is a cool dungeon, though. I remember when this came out, it was a fun one to run. Oh, okay, I gotta... Yeah, I don't know that I've done this one solo. I want to say yes, but at the same time, because I'm thinking about the various bosses and like how those will go solo. But if I'm correct, like there is a long cutscene at the end of this, just talking to Midgard Swarmer. Yeah, it's not really even worth pulling out the shadow. I just like it. I like sending it out there. It's a cool ability, but the stuff dies before, the animation of its summoning even finishes up. That's a very distinct sound. Like, after playing through this game, you know, you hear that alarm and it just... You know where it's coming from. Yeah, I mean, the way this is going, I think I have a while yet that I can still solo stuff. Again, I'm just not like, most of the stuff I solo is like super low level stuff for Wondrous Tales. So the Agrius was like a big, like, Zeppelin, right? So clearly we're inside of it now. Yeah, it's cool looking. I don't know that I've ever actually taken the time to really, like, look around. In any dungeon, really. Some of them I think you just notice more than others, but... And I remember, you know, being in groups that struggled with that one. Just it throwing out those flames and just end up wiping out, you know. I mean, maybe the healer first, nobody with a res, and then it's just a wipe after that. I want to say eventually, like, I was, you know, late enough into the game. You know, I was in a party that had something similar happen, but by then it's like people are so over-geared for everything. I didn't pay attention to what the average eye level or minimum eye level or whatever for this dungeon is, because it should be around or, you know, near what the level cap was, or the eye level cap was for 50. And this next fight was a cool one. Again, you know, another encounter that groups struggled with, but I mean, it was nice kind of having something that, you know, was a bit of a challenge for a smaller group. Frustrating, because it is just small group content, but
Who treadeth now upon my bones, and waketh me from slumber sweet?
it'd be interesting.
Thou hast forgotten the face of thy Lord. Remember, mortal, and fear me.
It would be nice to know, like, it's just like this power, like, how powerful is Midgardstormer? Like, what abilities does he have? Because even when he's dead, like, he's not really dead, and he can just manifest himself in, like, a etheric form or something. I know we get some more kind of information on him and whatnot in the Omega raid, but still I don't know that it ever really explains, like, what his like what he's capable of, like truly capable of. We know he can make like a small version of himself that I think it's after this will follow you around. And then I think at the end of Heavensward he you know, gets big enough to be a mount. But I don't know if that's him or just like a child of his or... Well, let's see if we'll learn anything here.
By her gifts hast thou earned a moment's reprieve.
Did Heidelin even get involved with that fight? I don't recall, and obviously it went by so quickly.
Speak, mortal, and I shall listen. Guided by a star. My people have heard the song. Ishgard shall burn. Sons must answer for their father's misdeeds. We do not forget. We do not forgive. Seven children did I sire. One now singeth of retribution.
Nidhogg, obviously.
I rise to join in the chorus. Thou art powerless to silence us, mortal. Yet thou shalt not live to labor in vain. Thy reprieve is at an end. Trickery is thy shield. This frail, ignoble creature is not gifted, but chosen. Hearken to me, Hydaelyn. I remember, and I consent. Fear not, mortal. I shall not harm thee.
Like, I remember, I consent. Obviously, this is when we lose the blessing of light. Have to prove ourselves capable without it, I believe, is the story there. And we re-get this throughout Heavensward, don't we? See, and the fact that Midgard-Sormr can, like, affect Hydaelyn's own, like, blessing or whatever tells you how powerful he is, at least to some degree.
Mayhap thou thinkest me an oath breaker. Thou art mistaken. If thou comest to harm, it shall be by another's hand, not mine. I did but strip thee of thy mistress's feeble blessing.
I mean, feeble is what he thinks of it.
Thou didst profit much by her grace, but no more. The covenant binds me to thee.
What?
I shall watch, listen, and wait.
The covenant with Hydaelyn? Is that what he's...
Fight and struggle, if it be thy will. Man hath ever coveted that which lieth beyond his grasp. I drink of her body, and thence doth mine own find new life. When it hath grown whole, the loyal and penitent shall rejoice. The dragon song heraldeth our beginning and an end.
You may summon Midgard-Sormr. Oh. By selecting the corresponding entry. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I'm still kind of confused as to... Because I think it was in the Omega raid where it gives you the story of Midgard-Sormr and how, like, he is from another planet, like a planet of dragons or star, whatever they call it. And that got decimated. I don't know that they ever really gave an explanation or detail to exactly what it was that destroyed his homeworld. But then eventually he flew through space and ended up on Hydaelyn. And he made like a covenant or whatever you want to call it with Hydaelyn. That, like, she would let him dwell here. Like, if he protected Hydaelyn or something like that. But I don't understand why he... Like, you know, why he closed off our blessing or whatever. Like, I don't get what the point of that was. And I don't know if he explained it, and I've just missed it, or if that's something we find out later. I don't know. Gonna have to go back and look at that again. I was beginning to fear the worst. Were those explosions I saw? Ah, but you shouldn't waste time talking with me. Alphino left a message stating that you were to return to the Rising Stones at once. Yeah, I mean, from what I remember, like, Midgardsormr is very kind of, obviously he's very slow in his speech, but also kind of enigmatic. I don't even really... Did he even give an explanation as to why he took it away? Like, what the purpose of that was, or what he wants from it? Have you spoken with Commander Levier yet? He has been pacing again. I believe this is probably all the same. 12, save me. Save me. Is it coming? What should we do? Oh, he's not? The Lady Knight from Ishgard cuts quite a gallant figure, doesn't she? Considering the sudden arrival of foreign envoys and the like, preparing suitable meals at the Rising Stones can prove to be an interesting challenge. We were able to locate those elusive manuscripts in the archives of the Thaumaturges Guild. I had not spoken much with the new guildmasters, but thankfully they were quite willing to accommodate us in our search. Though it may seem tedious when compared with the smiting of terrible foes, poring over crumbling scrolls is one of a scion's most important duties. Without the illumination of knowledge, we but vainly flail at specters in the dark. I traveled to Ul'dah to meet with Thancred's friend, the one who promised us that rare ore, and she began cursing me with words I've only ever heard from the mouths of pirates. I still have no idea what she was so angry about. Likely something Thancred did. In hindsight, mayhaps sending a lady in my stead was not the wisest of decisions. Pray ignore my ramblings. I feel like I need to grab onto every last word Mumbrita says, just because it's like we're not going to have her much longer. I'm pushing ahead with my research as quickly as I dare. The next time you face an Ascian, I would have you fight with the proper weapon in hand. I must confess, the relationship between those crystal formations and the destruction of the Ascians quite escapes me. Professor Lambertine has published a thorough study on corrupted crystals and their properties. I highly recommend you procure yourself a copy of his work. Nah, I'll leave that to you brainy folk. Truth interpreted is truth transformed. Today's heroes may yet become tomorrow's gods, or something else. Welcome back, Lavenza. Alphino was worried sick about you. Why don't you go and set his mind at ease? Praise the 12 that you are hale and whole. I came as soon as Minfilia informed me of Sir Amaric's request. You have completed your investigation of the Keeper of the Lake, I take it? Then I would hear your report. Ooh, have I got a story to tell? You conversed with Midgardsormr? I swear, were anyone else to make such a claim, I would regard it with considerable skepticism. Are we to understand that the Worm Lord did not perish and has in sooth lain dormant these past 15 years? Less a resurrection and more a rejuvenation for he who dwelleth in eternity, years passing as moments. Though his words were ambiguous at times, one statement left little room for interpretation. My people have heard the song, Ishgard shall burn. Clearly an attack is imminent. We must share this information with Sir Emmerich immediately. However, we dare not divulge your conversation with Midgardsormr in its entirety. To even acknowledge that you heard the voice of a Dravinian is a grave but necessary risk. Lest we forget, men have been executed as heretics for declaring as much. To even acknowledge that you heard the voice of a Dravinian is a grave but necessary risk. So we're going to acknowledge that, right? Lest we forget, men have been executed as heretics for declaring as much, which seems like then we're not. For your own protection, for the sake of our tenuous relationships with Ishgard, the truth cannot leave this room. So we're not going to tell them, at least Emmerich. At least that we heard it straight from him, from Midgardsormr. As for how we shall present our revelation to Sir Emmerich's emissary, you may leave that to me. Pray remain here for now. Is there something you are not telling us, Lavenza? Yeah, I lost my mojo. You seem different somehow. 'Tis almost as if you are missing something. Something important. "12 for Fend. Midgardsormr stripped you of the blessing of light? Are you all right? How do you feel?" Meh, kind of the same. I see. It is a relief to hear that you are otherwise unharmed. It beggars belief that any being could possess the power to deprive you of her blessing. Exactly. I mean, that's what I was saying earlier. It's like, I want to, like, what is the extent of Midgardsormr's power? I mean, he is stronger than, like, basically an ultimate primal. Or seemingly, possibly. Midgardsormr made mention of a covenant, did he not? One of the ancient myths regarding Silvertear Falls states that when the waters came into existence, so too did the great worm. Althik and Nimia, brother Time and sister Fate, decreed that Midgardsormr ever watch over the source, from which all water and magic was said to flow. I wonder, what if this was the covenant of which he spoke, and 'twas not the gods with whom he treated, but Heidelin herself? Again, from Omega, we know that he made like a covenant so he could stay here, I believe. Sanctuary. Well, if he is watching over you as he claimed, mayhap you will have an opportunity to ask. Let us keep this matter to ourselves. I do not wish to burden our friends needlessly. Oop, here we go. Art thou a pawn or master of thy fate? What hast thou wrought by thine own hands, mortal? That actually reminds me of the the Dark Knight quest. I think
My friend,
Oh.
I can scarce believe it. You confronted the Wormlord and lived to tell the tale.
I was just thinking, I think it's the Stormblood storyline for Dark Knight, which is kind of addressing, you know, whatever we have wrought. Okay,
I give thanks to Helone for your preservation. It is our sole cause for gladness. Your encounter with the Keeper of the Lake served to confirm our fears. A great worm has roared, and it makes little difference if it was one of the two in Eorzea or any other. The Dravanians are coming.
I am told that Ishgard has magical defenses against Dravanian attack, though I am not privy to their exact nature. Will they be enough to repel a massive force?
Ishgard has weathered countless assaults over centuries. This will be no different. And now that you have confirmed the threat, none can ignore the Lord Commander's calls for the wards to be strengthened. I dare not presume to speak for him, but I expect the Lord Commander would sing your praises. I must away, but we shall meet again soon.
Countless assaults weathered, and this will be no different? Why am I not convinced?
so she said 2 in Eorzea. I mean, is that just like Midgardsormr and Nidhogg? But then, I mean, if Nidhogg is considered in Eorzea, then so is Tiamat. But they don't know about Tiamat yet, because they don't have access to Ez's Law. The Ishgardians have warred with the Dravinians for centuries, nay, nearly 1,000 years. In all that time, not once have their enemies breached their defenses and entered the city proper. Yet regardless of how strong these magical wards may be, I nevertheless fear that the Ishgardians are underestimating the gravity of the situation. Well, yeah, because it seems like Midgardsormr is actually, like, on board with this. So, you know, if he's involved, it's about to go down. Though it was not Midgardsormr who roared, a call to arms by one of the first brood cannot be ignored. Until such time as they choose to request our aid, however, we can do naught but observe the situation at a distance, and pray that our fears are unfounded. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed it, please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to join me live, the link to my Twitch is down below. Thank you again, and have a great one.